All right, everybody, thank you so much. This is Gabriel, the ProActivator, and today I have Mr. Tucker Stipe.
Yes, what's going on, everybody?
Nice, brother. Well, first of all, I want to give you thanks for taking your time to do this interview with me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you, bro.
Of course.
Now, I think you understand maybe a little bit of what the ProActivators is.
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah.
Why don't you make sure I know?
All right. So a ProActivator is somebody who it's a combination between the Terminator
Yep.
and somebody who is proactive.
Sure.
Right. So that's where it was born from.
Got you.
And so the definition is a ProActivator is somebody who terminates bad habits.
Okay.
And is proactive about acquiring good habits
Yep.
that are edifying for them and the people around them.
Love it.
So that's what a ProActivator does.
Come on.
Yeah. So with that said, what I do is I interview people that have those ProActivator traits.
Yep.
Right. And I seen you over the years that, brother, you have that for the Lord. Now there is different areas of life.
Sure.
Right. I've interviewed people who are proactivators, let's say, in their finances.
Sure.
I've interviewed people who are proactivators in their fitness area.
Yep.
So there's always people who they have different traits and they elevate
Yep.
in different areas.
Yep.
Now, obviously, our goal is to be a proactivator in every area of our lives.
Yep.
Right. So we have 6 pillars. So we have faith,
Yep.
family,
Okay.
fitness,
Come on.
finances,
Yep.
focus,
Yep.
and fulfillment.
Okay.
So those are the 6 pillars that the ProActivators focuses on.
All right.
So before we get started, Tucker, I first want you to tell the audience a little bit about you,
Yeah.
who you are, and that way we can hear about you for the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so for me, 36, married with 3 beautiful little boys, 5, 3, and 1.
Wow.
All boys.
Oh.
Please pray for me. But man, we love it. It's super fun. In this season of life, I'm the broadcast campus pastor at Christ Fellowship Church in Miami. And alongside that, I have no other time.
Okay.
So no, I put all my energy and effort into doing ministry. I guess you could also say that I'm a teaching pastor for our young adult ministry across the church.
Nice, brother.
So that's kind of a little bit about who I am today.
Nice. Before I get into it in the 6 pillars, right? Because I want to hit the 6 pillars.
Yep.
I admire how the confidence, brother, that you bring every time you go up in stage.
Sure.
For a person who was as young as you, because right now you're 36, but you've been a pastor for a while now.
Yep.
So let me ask you something. What got you to have that confidence to be able to step up in stage and speak to, men and older people who are listening to you?
Yeah.
And with the authority that you bring to the table, brother.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That's good. I think the first thing that I would have to say would be God's gifting. And like a gift is just that. It's a gift. Like you can't be prideful in your gift. It was given to you. You didn't earn it. And so at one level, I've always had the gift of gab. I remember in school, if it was a book report or an oral book report, I always prayed that I'd get an oral book report because I was just comfortable. I was comfortable being able to speak in front of people. Still have nerves and things like that, but compared to my friends and even to this day, I noticed that I'm more naturally comfortable in front of people talking. But I think that you hit on something key is I'm not just talking to peers. I'm talking to people who are a lot older than I am, younger than I am, people who have frankly accomplished probably a lot more than I have, or perhaps are better at other things than I am. And I guess for that, I would have to say there's a sense of knowing my calling, knowing the responsibility that I have in that calling to be a pastor, to speak on behalf of God, which I say in quotes because I'm flawed and I can make mistakes, but he's not, and his word is not. And so I do the best that I can to make sure that what I'm communicating, I can root back directly to the word of God And if I can do that, then I can speak with all the boldness in the world, because I'm not speaking my opinions. I'm speaking his truth.
My brother. That's right, brother. I like that. That's good. Okay, good, man. That's the authority that you bring. His authority, not yours.
Yeah, amen.
And all you are doing is just being a good messenger.
Sure.
And that's amazing, brother. Thank you so much, and I appreciate that. So Tucker, let's go back. Let's go with the first pillar, right? Because the first pillar is faith.
Yeah.
And that's where you're rooted at.
Sure.
That's your. So I always ask this because I know, like, we should all have that humbleness and all that, but I want you to rate yourself from a scale from 1 to 10. 1, you're not living a Christ-like life. You're separated from the Lord. 10, you're 100% locked in with Christ, and you are certain and you love where you are in your walk with the Lord, 100%, and you can't really think of anything else that you can do at level 10. So where would somebody like you place yourself?
Based on your definition, I would give myself a 10.
Nice.
Now, that is not to say that I don't make mistakes. Mm-hmm. That's not to say that I don't have other things that will try to distract me and things like that. I'll give you a simple example, real life example. The other day, for whatever reason, I decided I was going to go onto realtor.com and look at how much a home would cost me.
Okay.
To purchase. Right now I live in a parsonage. If you're not a Christian, that means a home owned by the church that they rent out to their pastors.
Okay.
And so I looked at, could I afford a home? The answer was a resounding no. It was a shocking no. To be able to house a family with 3 boys and all that in Miami, especially with a desire to have space that they can run around and stuff like that. And so all my journey, I've had to kind of face this question of, am I going to live someone else's values, or am I going to live my values, which hopefully my wife and I have done a good job at rooting the values of our family into the scriptures in the way of Jesus and his calling on our life. And so in order to say yes to one thing, I've got to say no to other things, right? If I'm going to say yes to God's calling on my life to be a pastor, my wife and I last year made the decision that we wanted to make a change and start homeschooling our kids. And so with that comes an added change to the impact to our family, the realisticness of my wife being able to get a job or different things like that. And so we are consciously choosing to live off of a much lower financial income in order that we might be able to live out the values that we believe God has put in our heart. And so that's not to say that I don't have temptation. That's not to say that I don't desire to be able to afford to purchase a home. That's not to say that I don't make strategic decisions with my finances to try and better my financial situation. But at the end of the day, I guess I would talk about it like this. So you've got your pillars. I've got my core priorities and that. So first is my relationship to God. Second is my relationship to my wife. Third is my kids. Fourth is my ministry. And then fifth, straight up is financial well-being. That's practically how I'm living my life. And so as much as I want a better financial state, I'm not going to sacrifice my ministry. I'm not going to sacrifice my kids. I'm not going to sacrifice my wife or my relationship with the Lord in order to get that. And so, yeah.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, I'm curious. Level 10 is pretty good. Now, what do you do in a daily basis? How do you push yourself? Maybe right now, maybe at this point, you don't have to push yourself anymore because it's in you already. But what are the things that you started out doing in an early, age, enable for you to acquire those habits that are now instilled in you, that are now just driving you to have this really elevated connection with the Lord? So walk us, because some people want to know, man, what is it that you do?
Yeah.
Right? Like when somebody works out, wait, what do you do? tell me about your routine.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me about your routine.
Okay. So freshman year in high school, I made this decision. I went to a small Christian school, and we did this little overnight retreat. And at the retreat, the speaker was talking about 3 circles. 1, you're not a Christian. 2, you say you're a Christian. 3, that actually means something in your life. That wasn't the words he put on it, but that's my summary of it. And I recognized that I was in circle 2 and I ought to move to circle 3. And I remember walking out that night of that auditorium, scared to death. I'm like, oh my gosh, God's going to take everything away from me. And I'm like, Lord, what have I done? And interestingly, everything that I was afraid he was going to take away over the next couple of years slowly worked its way out of my life. But I actually didn't miss it. I wasn't like, oh no, I want to hang on to this. It was like the Lord changed my heart and my desires. And so at any rate, I walked out of that room and I went, I don't know what this means. I don't know what I should do, but I think good Christians read their Bible on a daily basis. So maybe I should start there. And so the next day I got up and I opened the Bible, and the guy told us to read 1 John. And so he said, read until you get to the end of a thought. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I'm like, is that the end of a thought? Is that the end of a thought? I'm like, I don't even know. But I started reading the Bible every day. And I tried a few different things. I wound up settling into reading a chapter a day. Now, fast forward the clock, it's probably been about 20 years, probably a little over 20 years. I'm a pastor now, so as you can imagine, I've built up my quiet time in my Bible reading, and I still read 1 chapter a day.
Oh.
I've tried other things. I hear about people, they read an Old Testament and New Testament and a Psalm and a Proverb, and I'm like, wow, you are so spiritual. But I've tried, and it becomes laborious. It becomes a task. It becomes, instead of life-giving, it becomes like crushing. And so I have found that reading 1 chapter a day is something that I can do consistently. I always say consistency beats intensity every single time. And so I read a chapter every single day. Over the years, I've added prayer time to that. Over the years, especially more recently, I've realized that people have these ideals. Like people will say, oh, I got to give God my first. And so I'm going to give him, right when I wake up, I'm going to read, I'm going to pray. If you are like me, that's a terrible idea. I will fall asleep if I sit down and close my eyes anytime before 9 a.m. I'm going back to sleep because I'm not a morning person by nature. I want to get up early, and I do get up early, but I have to recognize who God has made me to be and what my strengths and weaknesses are. So these days, my habit looks like waking up, going out for a workout. Either I'll do a HIIT workout in my backyard, or I'll go for a run, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, and then I will spend roughly, there's a little about a block is relative, but I walk this square, and it takes me about 30 minutes. And in that time, I pray, I read the scriptures and I have my quiet time with the Lord because I'm not falling asleep.
Nice. Now, how long does it take? Your quiet time with the Lord, the reading, does it take 15, 20, 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
30
takes
minutes.
the walk. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess you could add on to it if I'm going for a run, I'm listening to worship music, so I add that to my quiet time. But my actual thing is 30 minutes. On that walk, I just walk the same loop. I might go forwards or backwards, but I walk the same loop. I know how long it takes me and so it also manages, if I sleep in a little bit or something like that, the flex is my workout. So that's why I'm more spiritually in shape than I am physically in shape. God bless.
Now, all right, I like that. Now, do you do that 7 days a week?
So, for sure, Sunday through Thursday, I do that. Friday is Sabbath in our family. As a pastor, Sunday does not make a good day to rest. It's a very busy work day. Fridays, our rhythm, my wife allows me to sleep in because I'm usually the first one up in our house all week long. She allows me to sleep in. And so I sleep, I wake up, without an alarm clock. I sit, I pull up the window shades in our bedroom, and I read my Bible, and I pray, and just have a very slow, however fast or however slow it takes. And then I, get up and get on with my day and spend it with my kids and my wife. But And then Saturdays is kind of a family day. So a lot of the time I'll still try to get up and do that same thing. But there's a little bit of flex in how I operate on Saturdays.
Nice, bro. But you've made it a part of your life for the past 20 years.
Yep.
Wow, bro. That's amazing. Because we can see the growth, right? I mean, you can physically see it in your life. Yep. Now, let's move on to pillar 2, which is family.
Sure.
So once again, a scale from 1 to 10, where do you fall on the way that you will evaluate yourself in that pillar?
I'm going to give myself a 7.
Okay.
I like, if it wasn't for Jesus, I'd be a workaholic. And that's just honest. It's not something I'm particularly proud of. I love that. I love work. I love what I do. I love doing ministry. But if I'm not careful, I'll sacrifice my family for ministry. Mm-hmm. But getting at the habits, I try to have a pretty firm deadline. This is why I'm at a 7 and not a 10, is I don't always obey my deadline.
Okay.
But by 5 p.m., I'm supposed to be at home, disconnected, like changed out of my work clothes into my daddy clothes, because I got 3 boys. Anything is getting messy, no matter what.
Right.
And so by that time, I want to be like on with them, and I want them to have my undivided attention. My wife also is very grateful that I get them out of the house, so she can make dinner and all that kind of stuff. And then after we put them to bed, then my wife and I, we put our kids to bed a little bit early so that we have a little bit of time to talk, connect with one another at the end of the day. And then additionally, Sabbath, as I was kind of mentioning, my wife allows me to sleep in. But then as soon as I'm up, the table turns and I take all 3 boys and we go off on an adventure and have some daddy and boys time, just us. Mom gets a break. I tell her she can come back. As long as she comes back before tomorrow, we're good. But she usually gives us a few hours and gives her a few hours to spend. And so protect Fridays religiously. There are very few Fridays. Like I can count them on one hand in a year that I'm not going to be with my family. And I tend to be pretty much unreachable. My wife and I have agreed, like people say, oh, you're in ministry though, emergencies happen and that. And we have agreed that a real emergency means somebody is going to be dead tomorrow.
Wow.
If they're dead today, they still will be dead tomorrow. And if they're going to be alive tomorrow, then I can help them tomorrow. Now, obviously that's a bit tongue in cheek. There's different occasions and that, but I think that we often will cheat on our families with our jobs, especially men, or if you're a particularly motivated woman who really is career oriented. I think that a lot of the times we can wind up sacrificing our family. And so those are a couple of the, I guess, guardrails that I put around my own life and my own tendencies in order to ensure that I'm giving them, my best.
Okay. I mean, so you talked about the reasons why you're not a 10, but you also talked about the reasons why you are a 7.
Sure.
So the reasons why you are a 7, it's a pretty high number. Does anything that you do specifically that stands out? I think you mentioned that you protect your Fridays, which is that's one thing that stands out. Yep. That really allows you to move up to that number 7. Yep. Now, is there anything that you are able to do? Look, we usually do these interviews next year. So next year I'm going to ask you, Tucker. Last year you were at 7 in this area. Where are you at now? So, what can you do, or what are you going to do in order to fix that so that you can move up to that number 10?
Yeah. So one thing that I'm currently working on, actually started seeing a therapist, and that my wife and I have been having more conversations about this, is I am not the best at emotionally connecting. I recognize emotions in people. As a pastor, I can pastor people and shepherd them, and that But in my own personal life, I think my wife mentioned something actually last night when we were talking that I thought was really insightful. She's like, you're a thinker. She's like, when I'm trying to talk to you, or when the kids are trying to talk to you, and like I can tell you're not paying attention, I don't think that you're just sitting there with like flying pigs like swinging around your head. Like you're deep in thought about something. You're processing something. And so right now I'm actively working on how do I grow my capacity to be emotionally connecting with those who are the closest to me. I never hear anybody talk about this, but for me, pastoring people and emotionally connecting with them is far easier because it happens in like an hour. Like at one level, gosh, please don't judge me. At one level, my pastoral conversations, at some level, are really repeating the same conversations that I've gotten really good at handling, at least in comparison to other conversations, right? I meet somebody for the first time, we go out, we grab coffee. Hey, tell me your story. They tell me their story. Tell me about your work life. Tell me about your family. I'm walking through kind of the basic level of getting to know somebody, which I go to my wife, tell me about your family. I know that. Like, tell me about what you do for work. Oh, you don't work. Oh, you homeschool kids. Oh, tell me about that. I know that. And so it requires a much more engaged and in-depth, and it takes a lot more, I feel like, mental energy and care to invest in those relationships that mean the most, because you've had a lot of conversations already. And so when you realize that, well, it's not just about me knowing information, it's about us connecting, that's something that I guess I'm learning in this season. Like, how do I do that better?
That's pretty deep, brother. That's pretty deep, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you made me think a lot. Now, one of the things that came up when you were saying that is, one of the books that I love that really made the ProActivator is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Sure.
That's where, the first habit is be proactive. And that's where the ProActivator was born from there. But the 5th habit is seek first to understand and then to be understood.
Sure.
And I saw that out of a lot of the habits, that was one of the most difficult ones. When I talk to people, when I do the book clubs, when I coach people, that one right there, because most of us are always thinking about what we're going to say even before the person finishes.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's our nature.
Yep.
But you've done things in your life that have gone against your nature.
Sure.
So you already know, because there's a few things that you've already mentioned that, that's part of my nature. Yeah. But Tucker, you've already done things that weren't part of your nature.
Sure.
Like following Christ.
Yeah.
And you made it a part of your nature.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'm not a morning person. It's not my nature. You can turn that around if you really wanted to, because you can apply the same rules that you apply to following Christ into that one area of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So let's move on to so your goal next year, let's say, it's to be at a 10 in your family life. And the one thing that you are pointing to is being a better listener and more engaged in the conversations that you have with your wife.
Listener, at least I would define, as long as it's defined as active listening, because my wife would attest, like, I will sit and listen. My problem is that I don't say anything in response.
Okay.
I go, yeah, okay, sure. And she's looking for me to, like, engage the conversation more. She's looking for not just my affirmation of like, yes, I agree. She's looking for me to actually use the situation to bond over, to actually express my feelings, express my heart, express my thoughts on whatever it is.
Nice. Okay. So here's the thing. You are a ProActivator. You've already you've already eradicated bad habits from your life in different areas, and you've acquired habits in your life that edify you and those around them. Now, this is a bad habit that you have right now that you've already, you know that you have it.
Sure.
And then you're actively working on eradicating that bad habit.
Yep.
By now, have you ever heard of keystone habits?
Oh, yeah.
So you can use that as a keystone habit because, I mean, you've already acquired a lot of habits, maybe keystone habits, maybe a Christianity, following the Lord. It could be a keystone habit that can trigger other areas of your life. But you're at a good level there. But then there's other levels. And this one thing that you want to get better at, you already know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like, next year we're going to be having a different conversation.
Look forward to it.
Now let's talk about fitness.
Okay.
Fitness is one of those also that can turn into a keystone habit that can move people into other habits. And tell me about your fitness from a level from 1 to 10. What do you find yourself?
Does that include eating?
Anything that's related to health and fitness.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with a 5.
Okay, 5.
We're gonna go with a 5 if we're including food because I like food.
Okay, so tell me what are you doing in able to have a 5, and what aren't you doing in able for not to have a higher number?
Yeah. Okay, so as far as fitness goes, I for a long time I've run. So I'll get up in the morning, go for a run, anywhere from a mile to 3 miles. I'll do a 5K. After a while, I got into realizing that there was a whole upper half of my body. I had legs that I was moving, but I wasn't doing anything to keep my upper body in shape. But like I hate the gym. I know a lot of people love it. I've never been a gym rat. And so I started doing pushups. And again, going back to that habit formation, in Atomic Habits, James Clear offers the 2-minute rule. Shrink a habit to what you could accomplish in 2 minutes or less, and then establish that habit and then slowly grow it over time. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. I got down and I did 20 push-ups after a run. And the next day I did 21. The next day I did 22. And I just added one thing. And when I got to 100, I was like, well, let's add another body part. So I started doing sit-ups and that. And after I got up to 100 sit-ups, I added pull-ups and that. And I made it up to like 60 pull-ups. And then I just kept hurting myself. I kept hurting my shoulder, my elbow and that. And so I had to, pivot and kind of figure out something else to do and that. And so these days, I'm alternating between getting up and going for a run and doing some push-ups and sit-ups. And then I'll do like a HIIT workout. So high intensity interval training, if you're not familiar with that term, which I always say that sounds way more epic than it is. I literally every morning, this is proof, like you don't have to buy stuff. You don't have to get a fancy gym membership. I literally open up my tablet, go to YouTube and type in 30-minute or 20-minute HIIT workout, no equipment, and boom, it pops up. I click one and I put it on the ground and I start doing whatever they're doing on the screen. And every day I wake up the next day sore. That's like my rule of thumb. If you don't wake up sore, then you probably didn't get that good of a workout, or maybe you just need to change up your workout, change up your routine because your body's adapted. And so the great thing with that is my body's never able to adapt because I haven't done the same workout twice. It's one thing. I've had like the P90X or whatever, and it's like, yeah, you kind of like do your thing, and then it's like you just keep doing the same videos or whatever. And so this is just fun because every day there's literally thousands and thousands of stuff, and it's all free, and it's just like, go for it and do it. So that's where I'm at with like my fitness. My food is, if I'm hungry, I eat. And I am somewhat conscientious. Like I will sometimes turn down a donut. I'll sometimes turn down a cookie, and that. But if I want something, like if I'm like, no, like I really want that, then I have it. And in this, so I give myself a 5 because I'm like, I know where I could be. In this, the question has become like, what do I value more? Do I value more that I can enjoy a cookie or a donut or whatever, or do I value not having, a little bit extra cushion around my midsection? And so there's like a conscientiousness of like, I could do that. Like I could go on like a keto diet or something like that, and I would probably drop 20 pounds of fat. And if I worked out like super consistent, then it would be like, I'd look fantastic. But do I value that enough to give this up? And my answer is not quite. Which I feel like I ought to say this. In this season of my life, I've still got small kids. My kids still wake up in the night. There are a couple of nights during the week that I go to bed, at least in my world, it's really late. I go to bed past like 11, sometimes after midnight, because of things happening here at the church. And so that means my workout the next day is usually the thing that gets sacrificed. So I don't want to stand here and be like, oh, I'm this, paragon of like discipline. Every morning I get up and I get my workout in and all that kind of stuff. I never sleep in because sometimes like what the biggest thing I think for working out or any part of your morning routine is what time do you go to bed? Mm-hmm. If you're willing to go to bed at a time that will allow you to get a good amount of sleep, right? Whether you're a 7-hour, 8-hour person, if you're LeBron James and you're getting like 12 hours or whatever it is, if you go to sleep at a reasonable time, then man, you're going to set yourself up for success. And so this season of my life, in order to provide financially for my family, in order to do the ministry that God has called me to, there are a couple of times during the week where I don't set my morning up to succeed. And so I make a conscientious sacrifice of, okay, I'm gonna let myself sleep because right now what my body and my spirit needs most is sleep, not exercise, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, that's pretty good. You mentioned a key word there, which is the season. So of your life, right? Mm-hmm. Which because you do have the small kids, the job that is demanding. So the exercising part might be a negotiable part.
Sure.
Right? For some people, it's not non-negotiable.
Yep.
So right now you have that as a negotiable. But do you feel that eventually and understand that has to be a non-negotiable for the longevity of your health and...
Yeah, for if I want to, so my, I guess, fitness goal is like anybody else. It's like, oh, I want to drop a few pounds, or I don't want to drop any pounds. I just want the cushion to go away. Right? Muscle weighs more than fat. But deeper than that, my biggest like fitness goal is that when I'm 80 something, I'm on the floor with my grandkids playing. Like that's my fitness goal, is a lifetime of being well and fit. If I have like, I want to, lift this or whatever, I know me, I'm going to hurt myself. Like I'm going to go too hard or something like that. And literally I had to stop doing pull-ups because every time I get healed up, I'd be like super concentrated, like slow movement. Like we got this, like no herky-jerky motion. And bro, elbow problem, shoulder problem. I'm like, forget about it. Like I look better, I feel better, except for this part of my body, and I don't want, chronic pain. I know people with long-term chronic pain, and it's no joke. And so, yes, to answer your question, yes, I know that has to be a consistent part of my life, which is why, like, even like a morning that I'm going to sacrifice, I rarely don't work out. I take a 3-mile run and I turn it into a 1-mile run. I take 100 push-ups and 140 sit-ups and I turn it into, 70 and 70. I'll take a 30-minute HIIT workout and I'll turn it into a 20-minute HIIT workout. And that, don't get me wrong, there are occasions where I won't do anything. But yeah, so that's got to be something that becomes more non-negotiable for me.
So, you do have good habits around the fitness. You just know that you you can elevate that to a different standard, to a higher standard.
Sure.
And with your eating too.
Yep.
Because there's two things that you said that they contradict each other. You said you like to eat the cookie because you like to have, but then you said you want to be an 85-year-old with your grandkids. But then that decision is when that cookie is right there in that cookie. So what are you going to do in able to eradicate that from your life? Or do you really want to eradicate it? Because you have to make a choice. You can't have the sitting around with the grandchildren and still have the cookie.
I'll disagree with you there.
Really?
I will disagree with you there.
Okay.
I think that I can eat a cookie as long as I have good self-control. Like as long as I'm not hammering a box of Oreos a night.
Okay.
But if I use self-control, if I can allow myself to have dessert, I can allow myself to eat a cheeseburger and that because like as far as being, I don't know, I've done only enough reading and research into this to be dangerous. So like everything I'm about to say, take it with a huge grain of salt. But like centenarians, people who live to be over 100 years old, right? The number one factor for them is like genetics, is like where they live, like the daily rhythm of their life. There's that docuseries that came out maybe a year ago or more, called like Secrets of the Blue Zones. These zones where there's a above average number of centenarians. And the one in like the Greek Isles, they actually could draw a correlation between how long a person was going to live and how steep the town that they lived in was. That the more steep the town, the longer you were expected to live because your natural life rhythm caused you to have to be in better shape, right? And if it was flat, you don't have to have the challenge of climbing up and down, because even if you climb upstairs or you climb downstairs, like it takes weight, it takes more muscle than just walking across flat ground, and so I am not a guy who would subscribe to a philosophy that says like, hey, you can never eat sugar, you can never do these things if you want to live, until you're 100 years old and be fit and everything. I think that there is a way to enjoy things. God has given us all good things to enjoy, but to recognize, I think it's Paul who says, but I will not be mastered by anything. Like, I don't want to be a person who is mastered by food, but I want to be a person who also is like able to enjoy different cuisine and things like that. Now, there's a responsibility at like not eating until you're stuffed every single day and things like that. So I don't know. Like I said, take all that with a grain of salt. I might not be invited back by.
No. But no, you're right about that. You don't have to be super strict.
Sure.
But as long as that habit is not adding to your waistline,
sure,
over the years, you're gonna be okay.
Yep.
But if it is, then over the years, then it's not gonna be okay.
Yep. Agreed.
Depending on, are you burning it in your everyday life? So, and if you are, then you're good. You're able to enjoy yourself in those areas. Okay, cool, brother.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about finances.
Yep.
Now, there's two different types of financial success, right?
Sure.
There's the financial success where somebody really made it. They've acquired wealth. And that's a good financial success to have. I've interviewed people that have acquired and that have had that. But then the other financial success is somebody who is good, who's a good steward of what God has given them.
Yep. So
whether He gives you $10,000 a year, but if you are a good steward of that, then I believe that you are a financially successful person. Sure. Because you've learned how to manage that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about where you fall between a 1 and 10 and how you being a steward of what God has entrusted to you.
I would say a 10 with the caveat that part of being a wise financial steward as a married person means conceding that some of your financial stewardship has to champion your bride's financial priorities and not just your own.
Can you elaborate on that?
Right?
Yeah, I would like for you to elaborate on that.
So, let's go with just start to talk about some nuts and bolts. So, I have a certain amount of income being taken out every single month in order to go to retirement savings.
Okay.
We have a strategic plan to pay down debt. In that, for clarity, we're talking about student loan debt that, she would be okay with this. My wife was given, frankly, just bad advice growing up. And so she was planning to become a dentist. And so people were like, yeah, you just need to think of like your student loans. It's like a bill that you have every month. Like, it's fine. Like, you just take out loans and then you go and you become a dentist and all that. And then the Lord told her to stay in Miami and marry me instead of going to dental school, because she got into dental school in that. And so she followed the Lord. But she brought like that debt into our family. So we don't carry credit card debt. Car is paid off, technically, we have 0% interest loans on our phones because that's just the way you buy phones today.
Yeah.
But it's 0% interest, so I'm like, it's 0%. So, like, we have a strategic plan to do that. We have a strategic plan to save money when we want to go on a vacation, that we're able to go on the vacation and not, like, go into debt because we took the vacation. So we have what we call sinking funds. Shout out to Dave Ramsey. That's where I heard that term from. So we'll be pulling money out every month. Whether or not we're going on a vacation, there's money that's going to go towards a vacation fund. There's a emergency fund that's set aside. Occasionally we need to tap into it, and then we work on replenishing that. We have a strategy. While in this moment we are not saving for our kids' college, within the next couple of months we'll turn that corner. We'll be back to investing in our kids' college funds, investing in our home fund, and that to be able to purchase a home, because in faith we're believing.
Amen.
And so we're doing all of those things. Now, that's probably all expected things. What's perhaps the confusing part is where I brought about your spouse. So if it was left to me, I would be putting more money into retirement, into home, and we would be living on less in our bills and different things like that. But I have to recognize that God has given me a spouse. And if my idea as the leader of our home is, these are my financial priorities, meaning these are our financial priorities, meaning it doesn't matter what you want, it doesn't matter what your opinion is, we're doing what I want, then I think that you have something to learn about leadership and headship in the family, and what it means to be Christ-like. And so there's an aspect where my wife spends money from our family. We don't have her money and my money. We have our money, period. It all goes into one thing. And so she will spend the money in our family. Like, if I swipe my card, if I buy like 3 things in a month, it's a lot. Like, this is how we distribute the plans. I put together the budget. We review it together.
Nice.
She works through and offers her opinions on things. We make some adjustments and that, but then she is the one who ultimately has the marching orders, and she's the one who's buying the groceries, keeping the house stocked up, doing all of those kind of things, taking care of the kids, making sure they have what they need and all of that kind of stuff, as far as purchasing and things like that. And so I think that it's important for me to not look at her and say, nope, sorry, this is all the money that you get. She's like, if she says, I would like to buy a new vacuum, our vacuum isn't working well, or I would like to, buy the kids new shoes, like me, the ultimate miser, I'm like, they're fine.
Yeah.
Like, their shoes are good enough, but there's a level of, if you save, and invest, and then one day you get hit by a bus, cool. Yeah. You didn't enjoy the life that God gave you because you just kept saving for the future. And so my wife helps me to balance out my forward thinking, this is where I want to be in the future, with, hey, this is where God has placed us right now, and it's a wonderful place to be. And so let's spend a little bit of money enjoying the moment that God has given us.
Wow, brother. That's pretty good, brother. I think that 10, it's pretty good. Yeah, man. That's amazing. Great wisdom, brother. Thank you so much, Tucker, for that. That's going to help a lot of people, to be honest with you. Tucker, I want to touch on 2 more points.
Okay.
One of them is focus. And nowadays, the reason why I have that as a pillar is because people are so distracted with everything, right? There's a million things calling their attention. And I believe that focus is an important pillar for us to pay attention to, because time, nobody's going to get it back.
Yeah.
Once you waste it, it's gone, and it's gone forever. Yeah. So tell me about how do you do in this particular pillar of your life as far as budgeting and managing your focus and your time? Okay.
We've talked a little bit about time. Let's talk time first, and then go to focus. I'm a calendar guy. I'm like, what gets calendared gets done. What doesn't get on the calendar, yeah, we're going to do that. Oh yeah, we're going to do that. And a month later, it's not done. So I have my calendar, and it's like obnoxiously detailed. It's like, here's my quiet time. Here's my run time. Here's my like family time in the morning. Here's what time I'm starting work. Here's all of my meetings and everything for my work day. Here's my family time in the evening. Like, here's my, like me and Kalia's date night, and all of that kind of stuff. And so like I'll calendar all of that stuff out. And so that helps me to manage that time, and to go like, hey, am I living out my priorities, right? Going back to, here's God, here's my wife, here's my kids, here's my ministry. If I have a balance of time after that, then I can go and invest it in other things. And occasionally, there's an hour, but those things, they take up the vast majority. There'll be a season when my kids will be a little bit older. They won't need so much hands-on. And then my kids will be old enough that they can come with me, and we can do things together. Right now, it's a season where, like yesterday, I've played 3 games of golf in my life. Yesterday was one of them. Okay. But it was 6 hours. It was 6 hours on a golf course to play 18 holes. And like, that's a long time for me to be away from my kids on my normal day off. I can't fathom every weekend looking at my wife and being like, hey, I'm going to be out for 6 hours today, every Saturday. Whether it was golf or I was a wakeboarder, like going out doing water sports or something like that. When my kids get older and it's something that like we can go and do things together, can't wait for that season. It's going to be amazing. But I don't want to make those sacrifices because I have a higher priority that is too important to me to go and pick up a hobby or something like that. So that's kind of how I manage like time. Focus, I feel like I don't know, unspoken undercurrent of that is, how do you manage not to be addicted to your phone? Like, I feel like that's like the biggest thing with focus these days. I don't know if I have a lot of strategy on that. I realized that one thing that I've done that I didn't realize was a strategy is like, I relentlessly cut notifications. When I update my phone, somehow, like all of a sudden this app can like send me push notifications again, and I have to go back in and go like push notifications off. My phone, there's probably a couple of things that still ding on my phone that I need to go in and take off the push notifications. But the only 2 things that I want to come through to my phone to actually like notify me is a text message, and a phone call. Like social media, absolutely not. They're like, I'm like, in my head, there's no way that I want Instagram to be like notifying me every time there's something. Facebook, no. Like, whatever your social media thing is, I would encourage, like, take all of your notifications off that. Every app that you have, my gosh, like Uber Eats is like, ding, you should buy food today. Ding. Hungry. Ding. This. That. I'm like, no, like I don't. Like, no. Because every time that thing dings, it like fractures your attention. And so if I can just stop it from notifying me of anything, except for like things that I actually value, like if somebody directly messages me, I want to talk to that person. But outside of that, I would say that take all the notifications off your phone. I cannot say that I practice this, but for those who feel like, man, my phone has too great of a hold on me, a lot of people talk about parenting your phone. You put your kids to bed before you do. Before you go to bed, put your phone to bed before you go to bed. So like an hour before you go to bed, you put your phone in a drawer or whatever to charge, and you leave it there until the next day. And that so that it's not like sucking your attention and opens up the space for you to think clearly, think critically, go to bed. It's a lot easier to go to sleep when you haven't just been staring at a screen and all that.
So let me ask you something. In focus, in that same topic, from a scale to 1 to 10, 1, I mean, I think, 1, I'm on my phone all the time. And 10, I've eradicated all social media, everything from my phone. I don't even go on my phone just regular, just text message, phone calls, or anything like that. Where do you find yourself?
Disclaimer, I am not a like social media is evil and you have to get rid of all social media. Like if you want it, it's fine. Again, don't be mastered by it. Like if it's mastered you, it's better to not have it. And that I have family that lives at distance. Like my wife is great at posting stuff because her family's in Michigan, my family's in Oregon. And so it helps all the grandparents feel like they're a little bit more connected to their grandbabies and that. And so there's a good side to it. The dark side is pretty gnarly though. So I don't know. I'd give myself like an 8.
It's pretty good.
9. Like social media, if I think I looked like on the iPhone, they'll have like a usage. Like you can like look at the apps that you use. I think that if my Instagram says like 5 minutes a day, it's probably been a busy day on Instagram for me.
That's good.
Like I'm just like, again, I don't know, like no judgment, but like I just got too much stuff to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time to do that. And that like my Instagram is like my kids are playing on the playground and like they're running and like playing a make-believe game, and I'm sitting on a bench and I'm like, oh, I think I actually could look at something. Dad! Off. Like, back to work. And that, so, yeah.
That's pretty good, brother. I mean, 8, 9 is pretty good, because most people are definitely not there.
Yeah.
They're in the lower spectrum of that. All right, Tucker, let's talk about the last thing, which is fulfillment.
Okay.
Fulfillment is the way we give. I mean, you're pretty giving, but the thing is that, this is your job, right?
Sure.
What do you do outside of work that you give without expecting anything in return?
Okay. So I'd say like part of it is just like financial generosity.
Or your time as well.
Yeah. So financial generosity would be one piece of like fulfillment of like giving. And so my wife and I, we have a practice of giving. We have a set amount that we give to the church. We have a set amount that we give to the poor. And then we have a set amount for blessing, just that we have money set aside each month that if we see either to buy gifts for people or to fill a need when we see it, like we want to plan for generosity. As far as time goes, as you said, like serving people is my job, which makes it kind of funky. I don't draw a line between this is my work ministry and this is my like volunteer ministry, because I feel like that's just messy as a pastor and it's not really clear. I'll give you an example. The last couple of years, I can't do it this year because we're going to be out of town, but I've gone to Howard Drive Elementary, which is a local elementary school. They have portion of their student body that is at-risk youth. And so they have something called 5,000 Role Models of Excellence. And so it's like an upgraded version of the DARE program that a lot of us probably went through in school. And so for their graduation, like I go there and they call it a tie-tie-in ceremony. And so they invite the kids' dads, but if a kid doesn't have a dad who is present, then people like myself or other men in the community will come and we'll like cinch up the kids' ties and, speak life into them. And that they asked me to be the keynote speaker last year. So like part of my job as a pastor is to engage with the community in that. So technically that's outside of our church, but technically it's still part of my deal. So I like to think personally that like all that I do, like I try and shoot for like 50 hours a week, investing, whether that is like on paper, clearly this is my job, I do it every week, or something more that I serve or that I help. Technically speaking, when I preach for our young adult ministry, that's not technically on my job profile. Obviously as a pastor, it's like part of my ministry, but then when I, do recordings for our online or, different things like that, it's things that are in my wheelhouse. And so I feel like there's a good return on the investment. But yeah, in my job as a pastor, I want to be investing this time on a weekly basis because I don't want to go, okay, well that was work and this is like my volunteering. I just want to go, hey, like I just want to serve Jesus.
Amen.
I guess part of me is I may have crossed the line. So up until recently, or might still be true, I served Jesus, quote unquote, full time for free, longer than I have gotten paid for it. I'm probably getting close to that line at this stage, but there were tons of years where I would work a secular job or go to school and work a job and serve in the church and volunteer and do everything for free. Like there's very little that I do today that I didn't do for free before I got paid. I just do a lot more of it now because I am getting paid, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I have more time because I'm not splitting my time between another job. And so, I'm trying to navigate that balance of volunteer, serve, help, and also at the same time, not sacrifice my family. Again, like I can't wait till my boys are a little bit older because when that happens, I look forward to more, not all the time. My wife and I are like, there's people who are like, oh yeah, like I raised my kids in the church. Like every time the doors are open, I got them there. I'm like, I've heard that story a lot. It's usually about how those kids wound up rebelling and that. And so I want to be careful not to fall off that side. But when we have community outreach events, we're like beautifying a school or something like that, bringing the kids on out and that. They only last for, 30, 45 minutes because they're still pretty young, but they're out there.
Yeah.
And as they keep getting older, I'll look forward to not having to feel like I'm either with them or serving. I get to bring them on and I get to do both together.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think that obviously your job is a fulfilling job because you're working for the kingdom.
Sure.
And already with your skill set, I mean, I think you're probably worth $400,000 a year in the job market out in the.
Really?
I think so, bro.
Oh man, somebody holla at me.
But so you're sacrificing not being out in the job market, but it's not a sacrifice for you because you're living your dream and you're serving the Lord and you're expanding the kingdom, and that's an amazing work to have, job to have. So awesome, brother. I wanted to ask you, so you have family meetings with your wife. You guys meet, how often do you guys meet? Is it once a month or?
I don't know what a family meeting is exactly.
Oh, okay.
I feel like everybody could that could mean different things for different people. So why don't you explain what that means, and then I'll tell you yes or no.
Okay, so I personally, I do a family meeting every Saturday at 7 a.m.
Okay.
We talk about, so we have a prayer. Then we talk about the victories, things that everybody did well during the week. Then we talk about things that we need to improve.
Mm-hmm.
I have two boys,
Yep.
15 and 13. And so we all talk about, okay, Dad, you need to improve in this. Mom, you this. Enzo, Liam, everybody talks about. And then we also talk about our finances,
Mm-hmm.
how we're doing in this area, how we're doing in that area. And so on and so on, so what chores are getting done, what aren't getting done, what are we fix here and there. So it takes anywhere. Sometimes the meetings are deep.
Sure.
Sometimes, they get serious.
Sure.
Whether it's me or my kids, but there's real talk that goes on in those meetings sometimes. Sometimes they're a little bit lighter.
Sure.
For the most part, they're lighter, But sometimes we have to bring up real life scenarios that happen, and we all have to own it.
Yep.
But that's what the meetings are for. Once a week, Saturday mornings at 7 a.m. Now, but the thing is that I heard you say that you do your budget, I think, with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys. So that's what I was.
Yeah. So monthly, my wife and I go through. We call it closing out the budget. So we have a spreadsheet, we put on our propose, this is what we're planning to spend. At the end of the month, we go and we reconcile all of that and go, hey, did we do what we said we were going to do? Or I think we've made it to the point with a lot of the stuff that, if we're going to blow a budget line item, we're doing it conscientiously. We know we didn't budget for this, but this is important. And so we are going to spend this money and we're going to take it out of something else. If there's
So you don't have a miscellaneous envelope?
Oh, we do.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you...
Yeah, we have a miscellaneous envelope. Miscellaneous envelope is for the random things.
Mm-hmm.
In my season, you could plan or you could not plan that you're going to have a copay for a doctor visit because the kids or whatever. And so sometimes you miss things, right? And so we talk through all of that. We total up everything, we plug it all back in, and then we talk about the next month. Okay, what priorities are there in the next month? What's the up, what's the down, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. And so we talk about like you were talking about, here's where we're at. This is where we're going to end up. This is where we plan to end up in the next month. If we do this, if we do that. I'll give you an example. We had a plan within the next a couple of months to restart some saving and investing. Earlier this year, I went on a sabbatical. And so I was off for 5 weeks. It was a paid sabbatical, but we had saved and all of that, and we used the money to be able to travel, see family, go on some adventures as a family and all that kind of stuff. And so coming off of that, we've been taking several months to replenish some of our accounts and all of that. And so we had a plan that, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then an opportunity came up to go on a 2-night vacation in October. And I went, well, we hadn't planned that money. There's money available, but it's okay, let's rearrange.
Mm-hmm.
We have the finances that are available, which goes back to, again, not all about me.
Mm-hmm.
I would go vacation later, get all this stuff rolling again now. But being a team, being collaborative, and that going, okay, we'll do that. So we have a financial meeting once a month between my wife and I. At this point, with a 5, 3, and 1-year-old, they're not invited. They don't have a clue. They don't even understand how much the difference in $10 and $100 is. They're like, I want that. It's it's $100. Okay. No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
We at dinner time, we'll ask our kids hey, what was your favorite part of today? So there'll be a level of connection there of that. We have a quiet time. Mm-hmm. Big emphasis on the quiet, parentheses around the quiet there, because every night when we put them to bed, we read the Bible, we pray, all of that kind of stuff. But at 5, 3, and 1, if you have a picture in your head of me having a quiet time with my boys and they're seated on the floor, cross-legged, saying, Father, would you read the word of God to us today? That is not the reality.
Yeah.
They're playing, one of the things I try to do to make sure they are engaged, though, is I'll read something and I'll ask them a question about what I just read. It's like Mary and Joseph went to Bethlehem. Where did Mary and Joseph go? Like, we're not hard questions. Again, my kids are very little. So, but it's just, I'm asking them things that as long as they're paying attention, they can answer the question and that. And so, So I could see our family having some type of a thing as the kids get older and that, but that's kind of now.
Yeah. Well, Tucker, brother, there was a lot of wisdom that you bestowed upon everybody here, upon me. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you taking the time. I know your time is very valuable, and taking the time to do this interview was amazing. I appreciate you. Now, what are the things that, let's say, next year that you're going to come, invite you to the ProActivators podcast, that you're going to be able to say, hey, Gabriel, I improved in this, in this one area. What do you give yourself to, what's that goal of yours?
Emotionally connecting with the people who are deepest in my life.
Okay. Nice. We're gonna ask you that next time.
Great. We should bring my wife. She's the one who's going to tell you whether or not I succeeded.
That's good.
Oh, man. No, we're pretty honest. If she tells me, yeah, you're a lot better, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, she's going to be the referee on whether or not I'm growing in that area.
Awesome.
Which, let me be clear, like, if you ask my wife, like, we have a great marriage. Mm-hmm. Like, she's like, like, you connect and all of that, but she's like, this is an area of development that I see in you.
That's fine. I mean, it's not about perfection. It's about progress.
Yeah, which is, I think, the idea of, being a ProActivator is it's not always, hey, I'm terrible at this, I got to get better. It's, I'm, like, not bad at this, but how good could it be?
There's always another level.
Yeah.
There's always another standard.
Yep.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Brother, thank you so much for being here.
For sure. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And we'll see you guys next time.